Our first speaker is a professor at the University of Arkansas. She was on the validation committee to sign off on the Common Core standards and refused. It is with great honor that I now introduce our first speaker, Professor Sandra Stotsky.
To begin with, because I'm not familiar with this part of Connecticut, and Google directions aren't accurate, and a lot of other things. Even my GPS doesn't guide me the right way, so I have to blunder around. In any event, I have just learned about another tactic that is being used, apparently here in Connecticut, but it's also been used and is being used elsewhere, to stifle discussion of Common Core altogether. Apparently, some order came down that the legislature will not hear any bills on Common Core. And I was testifying in Colorado 2 weeks ago, and apparently it was a party line order by the lieutenant governor, who was appointed by the governor in Colorado, that you kill bills that relate to Common Core in committee, so they never get out, period. So this is now beginning to happen. That's only one tactic. The other tactic I am finding, because I have been invited to be on a number of panels, and as soon as the organizer tries to invite people from the Department of Education or anyone who is pro-Common Core, they back out. And there are two rationales being set up this way. One is that whatever panel takes place, if it does take place with me on it, is going to be considered stacked, imbalanced. So therefore, since no one who's on the pro-Common Core side will come from the Department of Ed, because they have all been told not to be on these panels, New Hampshire and elsewhere, same issue, you will have the accusation that you're hearing only, quote, one side of the debate. The other is to prevent the debate from taking place altogether. And this is now a game that's going on in Rhode Island, where some state legislators want to introduce legislation against Common Core, want to use, which they can, one of their own public colleges for the meeting. This is, by the way, something that any group can do through state legislators, senators or reps, to ask for use of public facilities, and then try to set up a panel. And the legislators are trying to order their own Department of Education commissioner and others to appear at this meeting. And so far they are out of town, out of country, out of contact. There are interesting excuses being given. The meeting is going to be postponed, but I'm trying to advise people that you call it an information sharing meeting and invite whoever you want, but have empty chairs at the front. This worked very nicely in Fall River, the empty chair routine. We've invited X, Y, and Z. We don't know whether they or their designees will come, but we'll leave an empty chair in the front of the room. You know where that strategy comes from. And if that person shows up during the course of the meeting, fine, they can say a few words. I'm going to be speaking in Hollis, Brookline, New Hampshire next month, and they've already got a program sent out that says who is invited to the meeting, which includes their Commissioner of Education, local superintendent, a few other people, including me and a couple of other people that I know will be there. And then when people go to the meeting, lo and behold, it will just be the few of us. But at least the invitation list will include those who are not showing up, which is part of the major strategy that we want. Is this a direct question about this?
Yes. I just want to throw something in that relates directly.
I'm sorry, speak up louder.
Yeah, I want to throw something in that relates directly to the whole idea you can't, college cannot sponsor an event if it's a one-sided panel. This week at Middlesex Community College, they are sponsoring, the college, a one-sided panel on Bill Moore's documentary, ALEC. I'm not familiar with that group, but the whole point is the Republicans are using lobbyists to write their bills.
But is this Common Core related?
No, but it's a precedent.
Okay.
In the
Well,
state-
I'm just talking about Common Core.
Yes,
I
but in
really
the
can't
state-
get into other issues because I don't know how
Its
policy.
use of facilities with the
But-
one-sided panels has already, precedent has been set.
Public facilities can be used by state legislators. This is not college-sponsored in Rhode Island. It's sponsored by state legislators who are being able to use the facility. The college that is publicly sponsored, is paid for by your tax money, cannot withhold an information meeting that legislators want to provide to the public. The problem is how they get what is called a balance. And since I'm not debating anybody, I don't debate anybody when I go to these meetings. I simply provide information which I will be giving to you on two major topics. First is the validation committee. The second will be the flaws in the English language arts standards. In between, I will give you various remarks, but to have these kinds of discussions suppressed by a variety of strategies is a deliberate subversion of the democratic process by people who obviously have another agenda in mind. There's nothing to fear if you've got facts on your side and you know your issues and you are confident about the public policies in education you are proposing. What we're talking about is public policy in education. The public schools, they belong to everybody. There is no Republican or Democratic or vegetarian notion of what pre-calculus standards should look like. And I tell this when I give testimony. I've never heard of any Republican pre-calculus standards, and I don't know of any Democratic pre-calculus standards. There are pre-calculus standards that mathematicians know should be in a high school course so that students can get to Calculus 1. Whether it's in high school or college is a different issue. But there should be standards there, and they are not partisan standards, they're academic standards. That's one of the major issues we're dealing with. What should be taught in the academic curriculum of our public high schools? And so that is information sharing, and the suppression of discussion about it taking place in Massachusetts because the commissioner won't send anyone to the meetings that I have been invited to talk about. And I was in the Department of Education, as you know.